everyone, and welcome back to my channel. It's Brenna Jean, a future doctor, and today we're going to be working through my personal statement, and I'm going to be peer reviewing it myself for your benefit. If you don't know where to find my personal statement, then you should definitely head to my Instagram at BrennaJFutureDoc. And this is because as of whenever this is getting posted, I will also have posted my full personal statement in a series of pictures on my Instagram. So go there if you want to have the actual personal statement to follow along with, and then come back to this video and watch it all the way through to see how I peer review myself. Something I should note, this is the actual personal statement that I submitted during the application season for 2019-2020. So yes, I'm realizing that any peer review I do now is not something that I'm going to change because obviously I already submitted it. Hopefully it'll give you an idea of how you can self-critique your own essay so that you can make yours better for your application. All right, so without any further ado, let's get started. As you can see with my personal statement, it starts off with a story. And what I really wanted to do was grab my reader's attention right off the bat. And to me, when I was writing in like high school and college and writing stories and essays, I thought that writing the reader into the story and kind of throwing them off guard, like, whoa, where are we? What's happening? Was a really good way to get them tied in because they'd want to see how it ended up. So that's how I started my personal statement. What I will say about my introduction is that it started off really long, and even at the length it is right now, it probably could have been shortened a little bit. I used a lot of really descriptive words. I got very poetic, and as fun as that is, it did force me to take away from other parts of my personal statement where I could have maybe explained a different story a little bit better or not have been like listing things off. Like I said in my top 7 tips, you don't want to just list things, you want to show, don't tell. And there's definitely areas of my personal statement where I feel like I did a little bit too much telling and not enough showing. So the reason I chose this story to share was because I knew that it would really relate not only to medicine, but it was a really impactful part of my life. Now, here's the thing. When my twin siblings were born, that was a very traumatic experience for my mom, for my dad, for me and my brother. There was just a lot of unknowns of, was my mom going to be okay? Were my siblings going to be okay? And while I was still pretty young at the time, I do have very vivid memories of like walking around the corner and seeing all the blood on the floor and seeing my mom being driven away in an ambulance. It was really scary. And even though I wasn't thinking of medicine at the time, I figured that it would be a really good story to use now, reflecting on the fact that I've changed my career path to medicine, because since becoming a pre-med, I've learned a lot about the healthcare field and the way that things work right now. And it was a really good way to tie in my current beliefs of healthcare with an experience that had happened in my life. Hopefully you're following along, but as you can see from just reading it, the first 2 paragraphs are all this initial story, telling the story of my mom, what happened with her emergency C-section, what happened with the twins, and the risk factor that was involved in it. And the reason that I did this is because I wanted to tie back to this story at the end. So I wanted my readers to have a really, really strong connection with what was happening in my life at the time. So after I kick off my personal statement with that story, then I tie it back to my change in major. This was something that I knew that I wanted to try and cover in my personal statement because I knew it might look a little weird to see a bunch of construction type classes, civil engineering classes on my transcript. And I wanted to be able to explain that in a way that was still storytelling and showed my connection to medicine. Oh my gosh, my favorite line in this, I'm like reading my personal statement is on my computer right down there. But I'm reading, and this is probably one of my favorite lines. I want to be the person who always makes time to address someone's concerns because no standard symptom can account for the variation of humanity. How amazing is that? This relates to something, I promise. So when it comes to explaining yourself in your personal statement, try and find little moments like that where you can summarize your beliefs in a really, really powerful phrase, something that will hopefully stick out and be memorable to the people reading it, something that'll make them want to stop, go back and read again. And not because you made a grammar mistake, because it was impactful in some way. I don't know if this is making sense, but try and find those little moments when you're summarizing your beliefs to do that. All right, so then we get to the section of my essay that I don't love, and that's where I'm talking about my experiences in construction engineering and learning about being a pre-med. The reason I don't love this as much is because I feel like I'm listing things more than I'm telling a story. As you can see, from an early age, math, science, and problem solving clearly placed me on the path of engineering. Like, that was definitely a list. If I had had more space or prioritized that over spending a longer time on my initial story, then I probably could have told the story of how I built my doll houses instead of just playing with my dolls, or I was always trying to design furniture for our house, design and build our play sets and stuff. So I was a very hands-on, mathematics oriented child growing up. That was just really fun to me. So that would have been a way of showing my passion for math and science and just building, rather than just saying,
math and science and blah, 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 place me on the path of engineering.
That was very much an afterthought type sentence. Another thing that I wanted to spend more time on, but I ended up cutting out, were my internship experiences. Those, honestly, both of my internship experiences had a multitude of stories that I could have told that would have shown my progression from liking engineering as a career to not liking engineering as a career, but I just didn't have the space, and so I didn't prioritize it. So a common theme that hopefully we're coming along here is prioritize which stories you want to tell while still minimizing the whole, listing things. Oh my gosh. So this is true about, if you read the part that's about the career test, 100% true. I took a career test in middle school once, and it told me I should be a taxi driver. And at the time I was like, are you kidding me? Taxi driver? What kind of career is that? And of course now I'm like, freaking taxi drivers, they know where they're going. Not Uber drivers. Uber drivers use Google Maps, but the old school taxi drivers, they just have to know the streets and know how to get places. And now I'm kind of like, oh, well, I guess my career test thought I had really good memory. So anyway, I thought that was really fun to include. I'm someone who really loves humor and just sarcasm in general, and I definitely wanted to try and include some of my little, more goofiness in my essay, so I have no regrets from putting that in there. None whatsoever. All right, and I get more listing again, right? So in the fifth paragraph, so when you're reading my personal statement, the fifth paragraph, again, it's, whether through volunteering, tutoring, or simply being a shoulder to cry on, I constantly strove to serve others the best I could. That's listing. That's listing experiences. That's not telling a story. So again, not my best, but it wasn't what I was prioritizing. Also, throughout the course of rereading my personal statement, I found freaking typos and spelling errors that I submitted. So don't be that person. I use, the word suits, it suits you. Yeah, I use the word suit clothing. I must have read my personal statement 10 times before I submitted it, and I still had that typo. So don't know how that got through, but that's fun. All right, so my second to last paragraph, the super, super long one, is really where I start to bring it home. And I decided to dedicate a little bit more time to this area as well, telling my story of when I was an ER scribe. I thought this was particularly important given my circumstances of switching majors, because I wanted to show admissions that I know what it's like to actually be in healthcare. Now, not as a physician, as a scribe, and that is different, but I'd worked in a healthcare environment and I knew what healthcare was like in the US, not just on TV. So that was really important to me, and that was another story that I prioritized in my personal statement. In my last paragraph, I really do try and wrap it up. I like that I tie back to my engineering knowledge and just way of thinking. So specifically with my analytical nature to help me find the root cause of people's problems and my desire to impact people's health in a tangible way, I know I'll be able to achieve my goals if given the opportunity. So thinking about that analytical nature, finding the root cause of problems, those are very important skills for a doctor. And of course, like reaching people in a tangible way, that was my way of summarizing the previous point of I didn't want to be working in construction where I didn't get to meet the people that I was impacting. I wanted to literally be able to see the impact that I was having on someone, and following a career in healthcare was definitely the way to do that. And of course, I tie back to my story. So this is something that I do in like all of my writing, is I try and tie back to the beginning. And I highly recommend it if you are struggling with how to close out your personal statement, because circling back to a previous point or circling back to your introduction, it can be a really great way to tie a bow on what you've written. And the way I did that was, for me, becoming a doctor is not about enjoying school or challenging myself. It's about being the person who does everything she can to make sure someone's mother never leaves home in an ambulance in the first place. So the whole theme of my personal statement was all about not only my passion for medicine, but what I aspire to do in medicine. So if you read in one of the earlier paragraphs, starting my own practice, that is a goal of mine, starting my own hybrid practice. Maybe if you're interested in what I mean by that, let me know in the comments below and I'm happy to do a video on it. So beyond that, just really prioritizing people no matter what, and not leaving it up to chance. So really taking every valid concern to heart with my patients and making sure that they feel that their concerns and questions are answered and addressed, so that we never have incidents like what happened to my mom. That's how I see myself practicing medicine. That's how I see myself interacting with my patients. And that's how I portrayed myself in my personal statement. So I don't know if this was more peer review or if this was more like the thought process behind writing my personal statement, but either way, I hope this was helpful to you. I know, at least like in my searches, it is pretty hard to find other examples of personal statements out there. So feel free to read through mine and let me know if you have questions. Like what was I thinking when I wrote a certain part? Don't plagiarize it, because that's not the point of me sharing it. It's not so that you can just use it yourself. First of all, that's just not genuine. And second of all, like, I guess I can't stop you, but like, don't do that. It's really to help you learn, me explaining where I'm coming from with my different, throughout the paragraphs, like that's just my way of showing you, what I was thinking when I was writing it, because I know that writing a personal statement can be so overwhelming, and I just want to provide as much help as I can. All right, that's it for today. If you liked what you saw, please give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel if you want to see more great pre-med content. And I think I mentioned this earlier, but in case you're not already, please follow me on Instagram at BrennaJFutureDoc. I post a lot more frequently on there. And yeah, that's all I got. So I will see you guys next time. Bye.